Hi, welcome to A Nurse's Garden. I just thought I would do a quick little video this evening on something that I done yesterday and I'm going to do some more of today, and that is just making your own greens powder. So I just purchased some spinach, some organic spinach at the grocery store, put it in my dehydrator, dehydrated it probably for about 4 hours. I didn't think to keep an eye on the time, but you just have to dehydrate it for a few hours. Check on it. If it's good and dry, then go ahead and crumble it up, put it into a coffee grinder is what I use. Some people will use the food processors, but the coffee grinder works great, and it grinds it up into a very fine powder. So you do not have to purchase these expensive powders to be able to get all of the vitamin nutrients from these powders. You can do it yourself. You can get the greens from your garden, or you can purchase them like I did. So the first thing we're going to do is dehydrate. So the first thing I'm going to do is load up the dehydrator. And so the Taylor Farms organic baby spinach is what I'm using. And it doesn't have to be in a single layer. It's so thin that it will dry out anyway. It does not have to be a single layer. As a matter of fact, if you've done just a very thin single layer, it would take you a very long time to dry out all of this spinach. Next row. These are great to use in smoothies to get all of the vitamins out of the spinach. Spinach is extremely good for you, and whenever you dry it down, it gets smaller, and then whenever you powder it down, it gets even smaller. So you can take a whole box of spinach like this, and it will shrink down to not a whole lot of powder, but it is concentrated, so it doesn't really take that much powder to give you all the vitamins and nutrients that you need. The spinach likes to fall in the hole where the air circulates, so try to keep it from doing that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And just put the lid on. Plug it up. And I'll bring you back when it's dehydrated. Okay, so I have some spinach that has now been dehydrated. I dehydrated it for about 2 hours. So I'm going to take it out of the dehydrator and just put it in a bowl and crumble it up. And then I will put it into this, my little coffee grinder. You can put it into a food processor as well. Whatever you have on hand. I didn't buy anything special to be able to do this. I just want some greens powder to be able to put into my shakes so that I can implement all of those vitamins into my diet without spending a fortune. And so that's what I've done. So here we go. You can hear how dry they are. Sounds like rustling leaves in the fall. Last one. So I literally just squish them down in there and squeeze them together. Crumble them up real good. So you can see how crumbly they are. This is an older coffee grinder, but it works just fine, and my motto is, if it's not broke, don't fix it, don't buy another one. So I've just put a few in there, and I'm going to grind them, and I'll pause this while I do. You don't want to hear that horrendous noise of the food grinder. Okay, so I literally just depressed the button on it for about 30 seconds. And I'll show you what it looks like. It's ground up pretty good, but not quite the fine powder that I'm looking for. So I'll put you on pause and grind some more. Okay, now let's see what we have. Now that's looking a little more like it. You can see the real fine, smoky looking powder coming out of it. So this is really what I'm looking for. You can see how fine that is. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. So this one is exactly how I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one in my jar. And I have a jar already started. And I'm going to repeat this process until I have ground up the rest of these leaves, and then I will show you the finished product. Okay, I am all finished, so you can see how fine that is. So it is really a fine, fine powder. And so that whole big box of spinach powdered down to this little jar. So it is really concentrated, so it does not take a whole lot. I'll look up the exact amount. I usually just use about a half a teaspoon in my shakes, and I can't really taste it, and I'm still getting the benefit of all the vitamins. So, okay, so I did stop for just a minute, and I did look up the equivalent of the fresh spinach once it is powdered down, and I got a little bit of some conflict. But it looks like probably 1 cup is going to be equal to a teaspoon. And so then I got to looking at my teaspoon, because I have not been measuring the powder for my shakes. And so instead of a half a teaspoon, I think I've probably been using more of 1 teaspoon. And this is a teaspoon of the powder. And so how awesome is that you can just put this small amount of powder into your shake and get all of the benefits of a whole cup of spinach without having to eat it and without having to taste it. That is awesome. So I'm excited to start doing a lot of powders. I'm going to be doing some other powders. I'm going to do some beet powder. I'm going to do a mixed greens powder, and probably anything else that I can think of to help get these more natural vitamins into my body. We can take vitamin supplements, and they are okay, but they are not as good as the real thing. So anytime we can get as close to what God intended for us to ingest, the better off that we are. So I'm going to be making a lot more powders and putting them in my shakes in the morning. So in the mornings, instead of eating breakfast, I have been doing a Thrive shake. And I just implement some vitamins into it through these powders. And so I'm going to continue doing that. So I hope you all experiment with making your own powder. You could probably make it out of any kind of green leafy vegetable. So put in the comments how yours turns out, or if you have any questions, just let me know. I hope you all have a blessed day. Good night.